Hey, you're watching the Half Asian Tarot Queen, and I'm Lisa. And just a reminder, we're getting towards the end of July, so it's almost time for the monthly drawing. The giveaway for the month of July was the Mystical Shaman Oracle. And we'll be doing a drawing for that in the August monthly drawing, where I'm headquartering the giveaways in the monthly drawings now. So I'm going to put a link to the July monthly, which is called Crossing the Bridge Over Troubled Water. So that's kind of the general theme for the month. It's been an interesting journey for the month of July, for sure, walking through some tumult towards a new beginning, which is starting to come online, you know. But it's been interesting. The readings have been real interesting for the month of July. I'm going to start with the Mystical Shaman Oracle. I don't know if you could hear that. There's some thunder rumbling in the background there. It just started. But yeah, this is my favorite deck. I love this deck. It's like super wise and magical. So I'm going to pull some cards, which will be the overall. Oh my gosh. All right. Okay, so this is really interesting. At the bottom, we have the Sweat Lodge, which this just came up in a reading a couple days ago, if not the last reading, but I'll link whichever one it is. And this is a card of transformation, you know, like in the Sweat Lodge, you're sort of like shedding and detoxing things that no longer serve you, you know, be they emotional or physical or spiritual. So it's like you're like in the womb of the Mother Earth, and you're shedding these things, but there's like you come out the other side sort of like to this light, you know, like enlightened. And that definitely goes along with the theme for July of just like shedding our old self, you know, and stepping into this new world. And it's been a tumultuous journey for sure. Okay, so the next we got the hummingbird, which this also just came up in a reading very recently, which I will also link. But the hummingbird it's auspicious. I mean, the hummingbird, it's just like this gentle little bird, you know, so it's easy to like underestimate, but this bird is like fierce, and it flies like really long distances, you know. So it's just like, despite how little and like, you know, sweet it looks, like this bird is like, you know, really solid. And so it's kind of auspicious because it's just sort of like, it speaks to having to undergo this great journey, you know, like it's not going to be easy, like you're going to encounter some difficult challenges, but it also speaks to overcoming those, you know, like you have you've got what it takes to walk through this, you know, but it's not going to be easy. But it goes towards the corn, which is a card of abundance, you know, and it's a card of like reaping your harvest and reaping what you sow, you know. So it's just like, this isn't easy, like having to shed these parts of ourselves that aren't serving us anymore. It's not an easy thing to walk through, but you've got what it takes, and it's going towards abundance, you know, and prosperity. So this is good. And then we have the upper world, which this indicates, you know, the spiritual realm and the heavens, you know, God consciousness, you know. And I think this is a really good omen too, because we have the support of the heavens, you know, in walking through this difficult, long, arduous path. And then we got the smoky mirror. So this is interesting because this is actually the first time I've ever gotten this card, and it's like, it's interesting because it's like there's this this light around the head of this Buddha, but it talks about sort of like the mystery of life, you know, and when you step outside of your consciousness, and you kind of have to like trust the divine, you know, because it's just sort of like, you know, we all have these sort of paradigms of understanding that we operate from, and like we go through these periods of life where we're challenged to step outside of that. And when, you know, these are periods of growth and change, you know, and so you're challenged to look outside of your ego and like have faith in God or the heavens, or, you know, and trust that, you know, when you let go, you're going to be led where you need to go, you know. And so it's like suggesting, you know, there's something outside of your consciousness that you don't necessarily understand, you know, but it's like when you can let go of your ego and like let things unfold, you'll be shown, you know, a great blessing or a gift, or, you know, some new perspective outside of your comfort zone. But there's like great blessings in that realm, you know. And so it's this, it's sort of like letting you know that, like, you know, have faith in the mystery of life, you know, because things are a little cloudy right now, and like you can't really see the forest for the trees, you know. But when the dust settles from all this chaos and conflict and difficulty, like there will be clarity, and you will see things from a new perspective, you know. And that's sort of like the miracle of this moment of change, you know. That's the light at the end of the tunnel. So this kind of suggests, I'm going to the muse to get some overall energies for the reading. It kind of suggests that, you know, like right now we're walking through this sweat lodge, you know, but we're about to be enlightened, you know, like we're about to see the light at the end of the tunnel, and this is not all going to be for naught, you know. Like we've had to step outside of our comfort zone, we've had to trust in the divine, we've had to like move beyond our understanding of how the world works in order to evolve, you know. But we've been guided, and soon it's going to be clear, you know, what we just walked through. It's difficult in the moment, you know, to have clarity, because there's so like difficult emotions, and it's not an easy path, you know. But have faith, you're almost there. Okay. Oh my gosh, so perfect. The Six of Voices. So this card came out in the July monthly reading, which is the card of crossing the bridge over troubled water. And that's kind of what this is. It's the Six of Swords, you know. It's like you're moving on from a bad situation to a better situation, you know. And it's like you might not see, and you know, you might not want to look down, you know, while you're crossing this, you know, but you're gonna get there, you know. You have what you need, the guidance around you, and you're gonna get there. It's not easy, but soon things will be more clear, and you'll be able to look back and, you know, breathe a sigh of relief. Okay, so we've got the Five of Inspiration, the Five of Materials, which both, you know, fives are cards of like conflict, change, you know, like upheaval. And then we have the Knight of Inspiration. So this is interesting, because this is, you know, this is chaos and conflict and competition and like competing interests, and like people having different ideas about how they want things to go, and there being clashes, you know. And then the Five of Materials is a card of lack. You know, this is a card of like not feeling worthy, you know, feeling like you don't have enough or you aren't enough, or, you know, you don't have what it takes, you know, and it's this feeling of lack. And this is an energy that's come up a lot in one of the recurring threads on the channel called Stalkers. And this is an energy that fuels, like, when you feel like you don't have enough or you aren't enough, you know, when you harbor that energy, that fuels like a toxic situation, you know, like a stalker situation is one manifestation of harboring that kind of energy. So it's interesting because we have all this chaos and conflict that's coming out of this feeling of like not having enough, you know. And then we have the Knight of Wands, which this is interesting because this is also, so in the traditional deck, this is like the Knight of Wands. So this is like a player or like a Don Juan energy. And we have a whole thread about someone like embodying this energy too, because this is kind of like, you know, the player. And there has been this like player character that's been recurring and coming and going, and he has his own thread and it's called Players. So it's interesting because it's just like, I don't know if this is energy that's like, you know, surrounding this player character, but I'm going to keep pulling cards and see if we get some more clarity about what's going on. So I'm going to the Golden Art Nouveau to get some, oh, interesting. At the bottom of the deck, we have the Page of Swords, which this is like the stalker energy. So these two are big energies that have come up in the stalker thread. And that's really interesting. So I don't know if there's this stalker situation is coming up, but I'm going to pull some cards and see if I can get some more clarity about what is going on, because that can be a message of truth or clarity, but it also can be like a stalker energy. Interesting. You know, because it's also interesting too, because we have this player Don Juan guy, and you know, those, you know, if one were to generalize, it's like that's an archetype of person that tends to attract stalker type situations. So interesting. Pull some more. Oh my gosh, interesting. The stalker came out again. Oh, okay, and so at the bottom we have the Devil. So this is a toxic situation. So this is interesting because this is obviously, you know, like I said, we have this whole thread about this toxic stalker situation. And this energy is for sure coming up, you know. So we have the Queen of Pentacles. So this is a nurturing, loving queen. She can be a business owner. She's like a very down-to-earth, grounded, you know, nurturing, balanced, financially astute matriarch. And then we have the Chariot. And we have the Two of Coins. So this is a card of like juggling balls in the air. And it's interesting because that fell right on top of this Don Juan player guy, and then right underneath it we have this stalker, you know. So we've got this Don Juan guy juggling energies, balls in the air, and he's got this stalker, you know. So, you know, that makes sense because, I mean, we've all seen that situation happen before in life, right? So then, on the other hand, we have this totally down-to-earth, grounded queen, this Queen of Pentacles, and she's got the Magician card on top of her, you know. And so, like, she's, like, manifesting. Like, she's in her power. She can create, like, gold out of lead, you know. Like, she can take anything and turn it into something, you know. And she's, like, right on top of this chaos and conflict and, like, competing interests, you know. So that's interesting. And then we have this lack situation we have the Chariot, and we have the Four of Cups. So it's almost like this person's like being offered this cup of love, but they're just like, they're not really paying attention. Like they're just focused on other things, and they're just like, yeah, whatever, meh, you know. And then we've got this lack, and then we have this like taking control. So it's almost like, and it's interesting too, because that fell right under the corn, like the abundance card, you know, because people talk about how love and abundance are related. Like you have to like channel that energy in the right way, you know, in order to like create abundance, you know, in order to like manifest abundance. So it's just like somebody's taking control of this lack, non-committal situation, you know, and creating some kind of abundance, you know, like that's happening. And meanwhile, we have this Queen of Pentacles who's gone on this arduous journey and has like moved through all this conflict, you know, but she's ultimately stepping into her power, you know, and manifesting something good, you know. But then, and then under the heavens, we have this player stalker situation. So it's almost like there's like a couple different stories here. So I'm going to pull some more cards from Muse Tarot and see if I can figure out what's going on here, because this looks like kind of a mess, you know. I mean, we are crossing the bridge over troubled water, but this looks like a pretty messy, dramatic situation, you know, from the outside. There's this like Queen of Pentacles who's like large and in charge. You know, there's this Don Juan guy who's got some stalker, and then somebody's taking control of the situation and turning it into an abundant situation, you know. So it's just like, huh, what's going on here? This is a very interesting. Okay, oh my gosh, we got another 5. So this is like drama reading, you know. Okay, all right, interesting. Okay, so at the bottom, Page of Inspiration, so that's like a new perspective, you know, a new way of looking at things. So we got the Hanged Muse, you know, which this came out in yesterday's, or the last reading I did, and it was interesting because it's like kind of having to shed all this stuff, which, you know, was coming up earlier in the reading. You know, there's only so much room to like jump this wire. Like you can't bring all this stuff with you. You got to be like lean, clean, and whatever's not serving you, you got to leave it behind, you know, because that's the only way you're going to make it over this wire. So this is a card sort of a sacrificing something that's not working for you. And so then we have the 5 of Emotions, which in the you know, traditional thing, it's like the 5 of Cups, you know. And so it's just sort of like, this is a card of having perspective, you know, because in the traditional deck, you've got 3 cups spilled, but there's actually a 2 of Cups behind you, you know, but you're not seeing it because you're just focusing on what's been lost. And in order to like sort of empower yourself to like move through the situation, you have to like be intentional about shifting your perspective to the 2 cups that are remaining and moving forward, you know, instead of just like crying over spilt milk, you know. And so yeah, it's interesting because it's just like there's this power to manifest this new beginning, but you've got to focus your intention in the right place, you know. So it's just sort of like we've got this potential to take control of the situation, but then we have this like this feeling of unworthiness and this like not really noticing this great potential, you know, and kind of ignoring it. And like in order to like move past this disappointment and take control of the situation and ascend into this abundant situation, like you have to like focus on the 2 cups, you know, instead of giving all your energy to these sort of dysfunctional situations, because like that's just staying stuck, you know. So it's just like there's 2 cups here, you know, in this equation, and like that's what you kind of have to take control of, you know. So that's interesting. And then over this Don Juan player guy, we have the 9 of emotion, the 9 of cups. So this is like a wish coming true, you know. So it's just sort of like interesting, because this Don Juan player guy has been going through this whole, like, he has his own thread, you know, and he's just been playing the field forever, and, you know, the ladies really love him, and, you know, he's totally mastered that game, you know. But in the thread, he's kind of over it. Like, he's just sick of playing the field. Like, he's gotten bored of that game, and he really, like, his actual wish is that he wants to settle down, and he has this counterpart, you know. But in order to do that, like, he might have to, like, focus on the love in this situation. So it's almost like there's like these 2 characters. It's like there's this player character and there's this Queen of Pentacles character, and they're both kind of like maybe on different sides of this disappointing situation. And in order to like heal this situation, like both of them have to kind of like move past this, and you know. So what's interesting is that both of these cards have come up in other readings in the last week or so. So it's just like, I'm kind of getting the sense that this reading might be speaking to this Queen's story. So I'm gonna link that here. And then this wish, whatever it is, that this Knight of Pentacles has, might be revealed in this reading, whatever that is. So I'm going to link those and refer those and see where that goes. But ultimately, this is kind of like a cliffhanger, because it seems like kind of a little bit of a standoff between these 2 characters. And I kind of feel like these 2 have come up in other readings too. But I can't remember specifically, but I'm sure that would come up in like the player thread. So anyways, this is kind of a cliffhanger, because it's just sort of like we're crossing the bridge over troubled water. You know, we're moving through the sweat lodge, but we're kind of at this moment of sort of confusion where it's just like everyone's kind of having to like move outside of their comfort zone, and we're sort of in that gray area right now where it's like nothing's really clear yet, and the dust hasn't really settled, but we're just like in all this conflict and chaos right now and loss, and we're waiting for the dust to settle so that we can get a clear picture of what the new reality is, and we don't know what that is, you know. So it's kind of like a cliffhanger moment, you know, but it looks like things are about to change for these 2 characters, you know. We just don't see right now what that's gonna look like, you know. So it's just like cliffhanger, end of the month cliffhanger, you know. So interesting. I mean, we are crossing the bridge over troubled water. We're just not really sure where the bridge, you know, it's like the bridge to nowhere, or, you know, we just don't know where the bridge is going right now. So this might be the last reading for July too, because we're getting real close to the end of the month. So we're really leaving it on a cliffhanger here. But I'm going to pull 1 card from Sacred Self-Care just to end the reading, because it's just like, ooh, where's this going? It's a pretty good story. Oh, okay. So we got clear your energy field. So, yeah, we're making room for a fresh new start for sure, as things are about to change big time. So we'll leave it at that, and I'll see you and announce the winner. You can still, you know, enter the drawing. I think there's only like 5 or 6 entries, so the chances are super good. And we'll see you in the August monthly reading.